Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our nutrition forum. My name is Angelica Medina, and I'm the bilingual outreach coordinator for the Sisters United initiative here at the Adelphi Breast Cancer Program. I have the pleasure to introduce our guests who will be sharing their knowledge and expertise with us tonight. Pauline Koshner, Nutrition Director, and William Wright, Executive Chef at Compass Group North America. Compass Group is the leading food service and support services company with such prestigious clients as IBM, Mount Sinai Hospital, Texas A&M, and of course, Adelphi University. They provide catering for special events such as the US Open and the Academy Awards. Caitlin Morris, she has a bachelor's degree in biology, and she's currently completing 2 master's degrees in marine biology and nutrition here at Adelphi. And Caitlin will be presenting along with Dr. Dembicki. And I have to say, it's a very special honor for me to introduce Dr. Diane Dembicki, or Dr. D, as her students call her, precisely because I'm her student at the nutrition program as well. And I'm very lucky to have her as my professor, as my advisor. I have to say she's the most caring and committed professor I've ever had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. Dr. D is a clinical associate professor and director of the Masters of Science in Nutrition program in the College of Nursing and Public Health, and she has been at Adelphi University for 11 years. She received her PhD in nutrition from Colorado State University. She also has a master's and bachelor degrees in anthropology. Dr. D has studied nutrition and health in India and Peru, and in the United States. She was the clinical coordinator for the FDA human clinical trials that tested Procter & Gamble's fat Olestra. Dr. D is also a licensed massage therapist, certified yoga therapist, and a Reiki master. She is an advocate of you love her. And an advocate for pet therapy, which she brings into her classes here at Adelphi. Quite an experience. Thank you so much to all our speakers.
Well, thank you, Angelica. That was quite an introduction. I know I can live up to that. And thank you to everyone for inviting me here today. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for the whole program, although I'd love to have some taste from the chef. But as Angelica knows, I have a rather long commute since I live upstate in Dutchess County near our Poughkeepsie campus. So, and I travel by train, Amtrak, and the Long Island Railroad. So if all the trains run on time, it's a 3-hour one-way commute. If I leave here in about an hour, I'll probably get home about 11 p.m. tonight, but that's okay because I want to be with all of you today. Well, as Angelica said, I wear many hats. I mainly teach online in the Masters in Nutrition program. And if you have an interest in that and want to stay at home and take a class in your pajamas, that's a good way to do it because it's all online. I may be in my pajamas while I'm teaching. But I also teach an in-person class, and I think you like this one. It's called Healing in the Arts, and it's general education art elective. It's an experiential art class. So there's no lecture, we learn by doing, and it's all about the expressive arts and healing. So like art therapy and music therapy, dance therapy, drama therapy, the works. We even do shamanism in there because I have some experience with that. So then there's some special guests we bring in, and I'm gonna try to show those special guests to you as part of tonight's presentation. So I kind of clued you in because this is going to be an experiential presentation too. It's going to be pretty interactive. So we have some handouts to give you that you're gonna need to mark up with some pens. Delphi pens are gonna give you two to keep. And it's kind of like a quiz, but a fun quiz. I think I have two built in, and I have some nice prizes too for you. So it should be a fun evening. So I don't know how we came up with two different topics. I guess we discussed it with the program director. But certainly what's going on with the program is nutritional defense against cancer, of course, and what happened recently, the new dietary guidelines. So just a few highlights from that. So why don't we go ahead and get started? And Jean, what are we doing here tonight? Why are we here? Maybe it's to taste something good that the chef is going to cook up, or maybe it's for another reason, or maybe your better half said, "Come on, let's go to this program tonight." Oh, and why would we have that image? That looks pretty interesting, doesn't it? It looks like that broccoli is beating up on that cancer cell. And it could be. So let me go ahead and do some clicks. And yeah, we're here to boost our immune system, kind of like what you see in the image. But I have something special to show you that I think is going to help boost your immune system. But we're going to do it virtually. I don't have my guests here for real, and maybe we could click it to make it full screen. There we go. Do we have a volume control we can pull on?
Let's see.
This is my class and my guests. They're Great Pyrenees, small ponies.
What I'm teaching this semester, besides nutrition, is a Gen Ed Arts course that's 3 credits called Nursing 357, Healing in the Arts. We had an RN, a registered nurse, in our class taking it as an elective, and she met Susie on the hospital board and saw the dogs, and she knew that I had done my dissertation research on how pets affect health. She thought it would be a great topic for our class. We had our first visit with Susie and dogs.
Registration closes on the first day, and there's a wait list.
My name is Susie Wang, and I'm a mother of 3 children. I have a house, a husband, and a load of Great Pyrenees dogs, along with 2 cats. Great Pyrenees were bred to guard sheep from bears, wolves, and coyotes. I breed, show, and train my dogs. They're all champions, and they have a CGC, which is a Canine Good Citizen Award, and a therapy dog title with TDI International. Oh, really? We go into all kinds of facilities and volunteer in schools with autistic children and young adults, and I've passed it on to my 3 children. They have pet therapy dog TDI licenses along with everything, and I think it teaches the children empathy. And if you train them the right way, any dog can be trained. It's the person who you have to train.
My little cousin is actually autistic, and he has a huge fascination with like cats or animals. They connect so well, mostly because an animal such as a dog will never judge them. It's one of the things that special children really key into. So I've seen so many dogs just light up people's lives. So I cannot wait to do it. Really, and it's so rewarding.
We are now the College of Nursing and Public Health.
He may end up sleeping in your lap. He does, I'm wondering if he snores.
He does.
Look, I promise you to do it. You're gonna be in big trouble in 2 minutes. I know what that little hand does.
That's it. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's get back to that image. Why broccoli? Because that's what we're here to talk about tonight, nutrition. But I did want to boost your immune system with some little feel good, right? Dog therapy. Well, here's a list of health benefits of broccoli. And you can see right at the top that it fights cancer and it boosts the immune system. And the next slide is going to give you the details on that because I realize it's small to read. So here we are, Health Prevent Cancer. It contains a powerful antioxidant and also an anti-carcinogen that hinders growth of not only breast but also cervical and prostate cancer. And also it boosts your immune system. And just 1 cup of broccoli has large amounts of beta-carotene, zinc, and selenium. And 2 of those are antioxidants, and they strengthen the immune defense system. So next, this is where it gets interactive. I'm going to have Caitlin as my assistant tonight hand out this flyer. And on the back, there's a place where you can have a checkup. So, Joe, if you can hand out the pens, that would help. Thank you so much. So this is what I'd like you to do. On the back of this Superfoods handout, which of course you get to keep and read at your leisure later, I want you to mark the box of the food that has the benefit of either prevents cancer or boosts your immune system. So I'll give you a hint, okay? There's 10. There's 10 foods that do one or the other. I'm not sure there's any that list both, maybe. So please check the box. If the food has a benefit of preventing cancer or boosting your immune system. And you should find 10, and oddly enough, it's not broccoli. So don't check off broccoli right now, because that's not listed, even though we know it does that. But the people that made this handout, I guess, forgot it or left it out. So there are 10 other ones. So see if you could find them. And just go ahead and mark the box, check it off. I'll give you time to read through the little descriptions, or maybe you know already, you don't have to read the descriptions, and you can just check them off. Thank you. How are we doing? Did you find a couple so far? Either prevents cancer or boosts the immune system. Just check the box. And you should find 10. And I'll tell you what they are in just a moment. Don't want to try it and tell again? Anyone getting close to 10? Yeah. Got them all? How many people have found 10 so far? You're good. That's fantastic. Okay, I'll give you 1 more minute and then I'm going to do the great reveal. I will tell you the answers. you should also be thinking, do I eat these foods? Maybe I should be eating these foods. Do I like these foods? That might make a difference. We don't always like all the healthy foods, and that's okay. We all have our own tastes, our own cultural and traditional backgrounds, and they should all be considered. Okay, I think we are ready for the great reveal. Do you watch that on the House and Garden channel where they redo houses and stuff? I love that channel. Wish my house looked like good. Okay, let's see what they are and see how many you got right. So we have all 10 coming up here. I have to do it this way. So, beans, bell peppers, cantaloupe. Oh, cantaloupe, yummy. Cauliflower, grapes, onions and garlic. I do like the flavor of garlic and onions. Spinach. Now, some people don't like cooked spinach, but they're willing to eat it raw in salad. It's very tasty. Sweet potatoes, I love them. I could eat them year-round, not just at the holiday season. Tea, we know there's all kinds of tea. And yogurt, there's all kinds there, too. So how many got all 10 right? A couple. Caitlin, could you please hand a prize to the winner back there? Anyone else? Someone up front here? So what you're going to get is a magnet a calendar for the whole year. Of course, we spent a couple of months already. What's left of the year, and it has the MS in Nutrition program and website on there. Okay, good deal. Let's continue. Thank you for participating. So similar to the list of foods that lower women's cancer risk, that is listed by the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. Maybe you're familiar with that site. But they also list coffee. How many people like coffee? Yeah, we're going to hear more about coffee, surprisingly, coming up. But don't forget the tea. We had tea on the list, too. I personally like both. It's funny, I like my coffee white. I like milk in it, some sweetener too. But I like my tea black. I don't know why, but that's the way I feel about those two beverages. But I really, really like this site, Sloan Kettering. They have a website that lists over 200 anti-cancer foods. And why I like it so much is because they have the purported uses. And why did they say purported? I think it's because that's what we know about it right now with the evidence that's available, and that could always change tomorrow. Then they have the mechanism of action. I'm always curious about that. How it exactly works in our bodies to do all this good stuff. And then there's the potential interactions, because we have to worry about how it interacts with our meds, right? Not only that, but also any supplements you take, any herbal supplements that maybe you might not remember to mention to your healthcare provider, and they probably may not think to ask you, so please remember that one. And then they list two things, all of this in two places. They list it for the patients and caregivers, and they also list it for health professionals. And I'll bet money you read what it says for the health professionals, right? Which we all should. Okay, so now I want to say a little something about the new Dietary Guidelines, which just came out. They come out every 5 years. They update it again based on research, so it's evidence-based. So you can go ahead and click that. If that doesn't work, oh, okay. We may have to suffer through a commercial, but usually they're short. And there's someone that's going to speak faster than I can in a New York minute. I think someone you might have some respect for, Dr. Sajay Gupta, and he's going to give you a minute and a half on the new Dietary Guidelines after the commercial gets over with. And hopefully that'll be quick. And then I'll go over what he says right afterwards, because he does speak fast.
My cognitive APIs can help any business better connect with its audience.
You should try writing a book. Find a remote hotel. Bring the family.
I do not think that is a good idea.
Okay, maybe we could make it bigger. Thank you so much.
Every 5 years, the government updates its
Make it
guidance
louder.
on things you
Thank you.
need to stay healthy.
But he has it in print too, so.
The big change this time around, the government is finally putting a limit on sugar, saying it should make up no more than 10% of your daily calories. So if you're on a 2,000 calorie a day diet, that's about 50 grams of sugar. Drink more than one regular can of soda, and you've already maxed out. And while the recommendations on sugar are stricter, the guidance on cholesterol is looser. That 300 milligram daily limit is gone. While no more than 10% of your calories should come from saturated fat, eggs are back in, as long as you don't overdo it. You do have to cut back on salt, no more than 2,300 milligrams a day. That's just about a teaspoon, so not a lot. Here's what a healthy meal plan would look like. Seafood, at least 8 ounces a week. You want 2 cups of fruit and 2.5 cups of veggies every day with all the colors of the rainbow. For your starches, go whole grain with brown rice, quinoa, oats. Coffee can actually do more good than provide that morning caffeine fix. Up to 5 cups a day are associated with a range of benefits to your health. And while the new guidelines certainly don't suggest you start drinking alcohol, if you do, you should feel okay about doing it in moderation. 1 drink a day for women, 2 for men. And also remember that guidelines are just that, guidelines. I'm a firm believer that you already know how to eat well. So let this serve as a reminder. Don't forget your common sense.
Okay. And we can get out of there and back to the slides, and that's fantastic. Thank you so much. So let's do a recap of what was mentioned in that very quick video. I will list the items on the left, and I'm going to see if you remember how much. So he said eat less sugar. Do you remember how much less? Yeah, less 10% of your total calories, and that may vary from person to person. On average, typical Americans about 2,000 calories. So I think it's less than 2 cans of soda, maybe 1 if it's a sugar-sweetened beverage. Another thing that was mentioned, now the cholesterol limit is looser. I don't know if you remember the old dietary guidelines, but it was less than 300 milligrams as a measure in food, not as a measure in your blood. But most people don't realize it's really not so much the cholesterol in our diet that raises the cholesterol in our blood. It's the saturated fat and trans fat, which is often hidden in a lot of places, mainly baked goods. So reading food labels are your friend, and I think I have something about food labels coming up. Also, curb back on salt. You remember the measure on that? Yeah, about less than 2,300 milligrams or less than a teaspoon. But that doesn't mean be sure to get your teaspoon of salt every day, because even if we don't use the salt shaker, there's that plenty of salt that's hidden in all our highly processed foods. And you really only need 1/4 teaspoon of salt, that's sodium, a day to be alive, for your body to function. But again, we don't have to be sure to get it because we have it in plenty of our food. Another thing mentioned, seafood at least once a week. Who loves eating fish? Yeah. And do we remember the amount? 8 ounces. Good job. Why aren't you in my classes? You'd all be getting A pluses. Fruit every day. Do we remember that measure? How many cups? 2. But that's the minimum. You can eat a lot more than that. And vegetables every day. Remember that amount? 2.5. But again, you could eat more. Coffee every day. I was shocked at the amount he said. Who remembers that amount? 5. I usually get a cup first thing in the morning. I don't know, sometimes a second cup, not usually. But I'd be hard pressed to drink 5. I don't know if I'd recommend that. And certainly then if you go a day you don't get it, you probably get a caffeine withdrawal headache. I'm sure we've all experienced that. And then alcohol in moderation. Do you remember the recommendations for that? For women, 1 drink or less, and for men, it's 2. Why do they get to drink more? Do you know why they get to drink more? Because they're men. No. Yeah, it has to do with body size and size of the liver and the enzymes that process it. Was there another one? Which one is missing? Who said that? Raise your hand. Will you please give that lady a calendar? Thank you so much. Wonderful, thank you. So yes, the new dietary guidelines, but something else that they're emphasizing that's new, their main theme is to follow a healthy eating pattern. This is something new. And in fact, I have a handout for everyone on the new dietary guidelines. We'll say that for the end. But everyone will get one, so you get to read all these details. So what's new is this follow a healthy eating pattern. So don't worry so much about individual nutrients, maybe pay some attention to it, but make it part of your whole lifestyle, your whole way of eating. And I do want to mention, as far as nutrition, diet is only half the picture. What's the other half? Yes, physical activity. And that gets mentioned too. Oh, and this is where Caitlin is going to take over and tell us about one very healthy eating pattern, and that's the Mediterranean diet.
Okay, so as you can see, physical activity is the base of the pyramid. That's a big aspect of health. And then whole grains, fruits and vegetables, plant oils like olive oil, fish, some dairy, eggs, poultry, and very minimal sweets, perhaps wine in moderation. So think of Italy and what they eat around there, and that's a good way to go.
Now, what is it? How often do we typically eat red meat as Americans? Is it monthly? Is it weekly? Is it daily? Hourly, someone said. But maybe at every meal. So we have another view that Caitlin is going to highlight.
This pyramid shows the healthy eating guidelines. Once again, exercise is mentioned, which is great. Minimizing red meat, as you can see, it's at the top with butter, white rice, other white grains, soda, and sugars. The base of the pyramid is mostly whole grains and fruits and vegetables, and replacing solid fats with plant oils instead. So minimizing the red meat, butter, and sugar, and white flour.
Thank you.
Where are pork and lamb on that? Are they red meat? You consider them red meats?
Yeah, it'd be near the top. So any meats, of course, we know certain meats like turkey with chicken with the skin removed, of course, would be healthier than, say, red meats. So another way to think of a healthy eating pattern is to catch a rainbow every day or eat a rainbow every day. So eating colorfully to get in all those cups of fruits and vegetables. And so I want to thank you for this presentation. And guess what? Not only do we have a handout about the dietary guidelines for everyone, we have a calendar for everyone too. So we'll go ahead and pass those out, and we're also available for a few minutes for questions. Sure. Yes, it's hard to see with the light in the background, so I apologize if I don't see you right away.
What do they recommend on eggs? How many eggs a day should you eat? And whole eggs, or? I'm wondering about eggs.
Right, and
because I eat a lot of eggs.
remember in the video, he said it's okay to eat eggs now. And the saturated fat and cholesterol are in the yolk, but it's not a lot because obviously egg isn't that big. But if you start eliminating the yolk and just eat egg whites, you're eliminating all those fat-soluble vitamins too. So you are eliminating nutrients. So again, I think the key word in everything that we talked about, whether it's coffee or alcohol, is the M word, which is moderation. Yes, over here.
I had heard that, I went to one nutrition meeting, they were talking about all the benefits of Himalayan salt. Oh, yeah. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but you know what? Salt is salt. don't go crazy. You can drive yourself crazy with these individual nutrients. And don't do that because stress is not good for us, right? No. And it has the opposite effect on our immune system. And let me mention something else that has an effect on our immune system. All it takes is a deficiency in one nutrient to have an effect. So that's why it's good to eat a healthy diet and try to follow the dietary guidelines, the recommendations, the RDAs that are out there. Okay, is there another question?
Yeah, that was my question regarding salt, and deficiency of iodine. Now that we're all cutting back on salt, and I'm hearing now that we're creating a new problem with the lack of iodine in our diet. Can you speak to that?
Yes, well, did you ever go to the grocery store maybe to buy salt for baking? We're not gonna put enough salt sugar on the table. And do you agonize, do I get just plain old salt or the salt with the iodine in it? You might as well get it with iodine in it, get something for your money that's free. But if you eat seafood regularly, you're gonna get iodine. And remember, we already have that recommendation to have, at least once a week, more would be healthy. Interesting story. I think we have a few moments to talk about this, and I do teach this in my nutrition class. And it was in the middle of the last century. Nutrition is such a young science. It's only a little over 100 years old. In the middle of last century, it was noticed in the Midwest of the U.S. that people were getting swellings in their necks, like enlarged necks. And no one knew what it was. They thought it was a strange infectious disease until they actually started studying it. And it was goiters, so an enlarged thyroid. And why in the Midwest? Well, it has to do with geological history millions and millions of years ago. Who would have thought the relationship of humans today? But because of where the ocean was or wasn't over the landform in that part of the U.S., there was not sea or ocean that has salts and iodine in it. So therefore, the soils that resulted were lacking in it. And 50, 75, or 100 years ago, people pretty much ate close to home. Some of them, a lot of people grew their own foods, raised their own animals to eat. We didn't have the interstate or international commerce that we have today. So their diets were lacking iodine, and that's why they had the swellings of the neck, the goiters of the thyroid. Yes?
I know we're talking about nutrition, but as a nutritionist, do you also feel like it's a good recommendation to take a multivitamin?
Yes, and I think it depends on where you are in the life cycle. Certainly, the older we get, I think it might be more important. Certainly, women, say, going through menopause a little later, worrying about their bone health and getting enough vitamin D and calcium that, of course, works together. Maybe you have a lot of dairy food in your diet, maybe you don't. There may be different reasons why you may be deficient in certain nutrients. So as far as recommendation, just a one a daily multivitamin, multi-mineral. I wouldn't get crazy by taking individual bottles of things because it's very easy to get into toxicity conditions, especially with the fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, as opposed to the water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C and the B vitamins, where the body tends to store a little bit of it, but mostly it gets flushed out. But we do tend to store the fat-soluble vitamins, of course, in all our adipose tissue, and we can reach toxicity conditions, because remember, we're getting these nutrients in the foods that we eat, and then if you take a supplement on top of that, that just adds to it. And I see Angelica shaking her head. Our buddy nutritionist, she knows all about that. We've had many discussions about it. Yes, another question.
Yes, assuming that one cooks appropriately with fresh vegetables, is it healthier to eat them raw or to cook things like spinach?
And I know that's very popular, the raw diet now. But actually some, I would say light cooking, like steaming or microwaving, Basically cooking is pre-digesting, so it helps you digest the food. And again, depending on how long and what process you use, yes, there's some nutrient loss, but not a lot if you're careful with your food preparation. I wouldn't necessarily say strictly go raw. I know there are some things as far as fruits and vegetables that are enjoyable as raw, but I wouldn't say you have to go 100% that way. Yes, anyone else? Go ahead.
This question actually has to do with the salt, with the iodine in it. Just kind of, I have a son at home who has an allergy to the iodine, the shell. So I'm wondering, can you have that much of a reaction with that in the salt? Because there are times he'll have a reaction we can't figure out where did it come from.
Yeah, it could be, but the best one to check is an allergy doctor for that. Yeah. And these are nutrients, very, very small amounts that we need, like trace nutrients. So that's why it's easy to tip over to get too much, why we have to be careful.
Thank you.
And also, we also have a dietitian here later in the evening that can continue to answer your questions that you have about diet. Yes?
Do you think it's important to buy organic meats and eggs?
There's a lot of factors involved. Number one is economics. I know they're more expensive, and I have a little insight on that since I live in a rural area upstate, which I'll share with you. I think it's due to personal choice. I would get together with a friend and maybe do an experiment at home, do a blind taste test where you have the same food product and one that's organic and one that's not organic, and see if you could tell the difference. That would be an interesting experiment. I would be more concerned about, say, surface pesticides that might be on crops which can be washed off. So that's something that everybody should be doing. But let me get into explaining why organic foods are more expensive. Sure, there are more people involved, the middleman besides the farmer, and there's a grocer and there's transportation and everything, and everyone has to take their cut. But here's another reason. Like I said, there's a lot of farms up in my area, a lot of dairy farms, and also they grow crops like corn. Some for people and some for animals and some for your car too. So unfortunately, there's less and less of family farms. They're fast being replaced by condominiums. What happens when a farmer wants to convert a regular farm where there's chemicals used on it, whether it's fertilizer or pesticides or things like that, and convert it to organic without using chemicals? It has to lay fallow for several years, sometimes 10 years, which is a long time. Meanwhile, he's not growing anything on it and not making any money because there's nothing produced. But he also at the same time has to pay taxes on that land. So that's just talking about produce. Let me give you an insight about animals. Say you want organic milk from dairy cattle that's on an organic farm. When I attended a professional nutrition conference, Society for Nutrition Education and Behavior, and it was in Wisconsin. So what do you think of Wisconsin, right? Cheese! Yeah, so there's a lot of dairy farms there. So we did, our group, we had a post-conference tour the last day, and we got to visit an organic dairy farm. Now, I had visited some regular farms that were not the organic kind up by me in Dutchess County, so I wanted to see a comparison. And this was the first surprise. Getting a tour of the farm and out where the cows are grazing on the grass very happily. And it was kind of a nice hayride, in a wagon. It was being pulled by a tractor. Well, it smelled sweet. It didn't smell like manure, right, that you usually think of a farm. Anyone grow up on a farm? Know what I'm talking about? It Okay, I'm actually a transported city person. I was born in Queens, and when I was about 7, we moved upstate to where I live now. So it smelled sweet. It was very pleasant. And we were brought inside the barn and showed all the operations. And their main concern was when an animal gets sick. Well, of course, they want to take care of their animal, and they try to do it holistically first. And if that doesn't work, then they have to use conventional, traditional medicines. But as soon as they do that, they have to remove the cow from the herd. Well, it's not a total loss because they could sell it to farmers that have farms that aren't organic. So it works out okay. But it all adds to the cost. And then while I was there, the controversy about raw milk came up. I don't know if we want to get into that now. But there's a lot of concerns. Does it taste different? Well, let you be the judge of that. Again, do that blind taste test. Are you going to pay more money? Yes. So a lot of factors involved in your food choices.
Do you feel that there's certain foods that are best bought organic, things like strawberries that have a very thin skin? I mean, I'm more concerned not about the flavor, but rather about pesticides.
Right, and that's a concern, but again, I'm going to leave that up to personal choice.
Okay, so you don't.
I'm not going to make any recommendations on that. Yes.
I'd like to just ask a question about the coffee.
Okay.
Does that include caffeine free, the decaf? Because there's some of us who can't have excessive caffeine.
True, and I think the point was he wasn't saying caffeinated beverages, because then you could either, drink tea or have chocolate, which isn't a bad idea. The brown food group, or sodas, things like that. So I don't think the caffeine is the key ingredient, but the other, let's say organics that are in the bean, that you find that makes the coffee. And isn't it nice? Now we can experiment with all different tastes from coffee beans from around the world. And again, doesn't that vary in price too? And whether you support fair trade or not. So there's so many factors involved. It's not for me to say do this or do that, but take into consideration all these things that are being mentioned tonight. Do we need to stop now? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. for giving us all that wonderful information. Now we're going to hand it over to Chef Wright, who's going to show us a delicious recipe. You have it in your hand, but I'm also going to put it up on the screen, so if you want to take a picture of it, you can do it that way as well.
Can everybody hear me, or how's my voice? Good? I need to do a good job. I'm trying to win a calendar.
I have one just for you.
Did everyone get a recipe?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
And it's
We're
right
making
above
quinoa
that.
salad with lemon vinaigrette. That's what you Elvis.
Okay.
All the ingredients. Let's go over our ingredient list. We'll do that real quick. Quinoa, jicama, mango, raisins, our basil, our roasted asparagus. These are all local ingredients you can find in your local supermarket.
Okay, so anybody know what quinoa is? Yeah. Okay, so what is quinoa? Grain. Really, what is it really? It's a seed. It's a seed from Peru. That it tastes like a grain, but it's also high in protein. It's high in protein, and it tastes like, it has some good carbohydrates in there as well.
We're not hearing you.
It has good carbohydrates, it has high in fiber, iron, and magnesium. But it is truly a seed that was first gotten from Peru.
But if the seed was planted, what would it become?
Excuse me?
If the seed were to be planted, what would it become?
I guess it would, I don't know. Yeah, it's a protein. A chia pet. A chia pet, right. Yeah.
Magnesium.
Yeah. There's a lot out there about magnesium and how we are not getting enough magnesium in our diets. Can you talk about that a little bit? And are there other foods besides quinoa that contain magnesium?
A lot of greens, a lot of grains contain magnesium, and a lot of cereals and breads are fortified. So, yeah, there's the whole controversy is that magnesium is like has the magic.
Yes.
I don't know how much magic it really has. I would definitely, stick with the greens, the grains, and as the doctor said, multivitamin is a supplement, not a substitute, for eating healthily.
Thank you.
Go ahead. So jicama is one of the ingredients. Jicama is sort of like a turnip.
It's a root
It's a root vegetable. It's very crunchy, very low in calories. It's high in vitamin C. Has anybody had quinoa? Not quinoa, I mean jicama. It's great. It's very crunchy. It's sort of like a cross between a pear and a carrot.
Yeah, sort of like an apple.
Yeah.
A little sweet, a little sour. You just peel it. It's easier to peel with a paring knife than a peeler. If you've ever used it for, excuse me? Brown. I should have brought a whole one.
It's like a
You're right.
brown, bulbous looking
It's
type
white
of thing.
inside, isn't it?
White
Yes, it
inside.
is. It's white inside.
Oh, okay.
And I wrote peel and dice your jicama small. You can also use your little grater you have at home, like you would grate carrot on.
Oh, okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Which is what I brought here. I brought it. You can dice it, but I wanted you to see what it looks like on the carrot grater. It's just nice and shredded.
Does it have a high water content?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Root vegetable.
What's that?
I love jicama. I think
It's fantastic.
Any more ingredient questions? No? All right, we're gonna start with our dressing. So we need to go down to our dressing preparation. We got mint shallots, Dijon, lemon juice, salt and pepper to taste. Now, when you're making a dressing, I'm gonna make this separate. Once you have your feel of the dressing, you can do your dressing, toss your ingredients, 1, 2, 3, it's one less dish to wash. Since I have a dishwasher, I'm gonna use 2 bowls. What you wanna do is you wanna add your heavy ingredients first. That's gonna be like the shallots.
Shallots like scallions.
Cross between
Like an
garlic and an onion, a shallot. Right.
You're gonna add your mustard. A salad dressing is an emulsification, which means we're gonna suspend the oil in the lemon juice, so we need to mix it properly. We have our ingredients in the bowl, half the salt and pepper, you always add your vinegar, your lemon, your lime, whatever juice it is, before the oil.
So whatever acid you're using. Why, Chef?
Excuse me?
Why?
Well, again, because we need to suspend the oil in the lemon juice. So we have to incorporate all the ingredients together. So now the only task left at hand, that's not magic, you're doing it, is just the oil. Everything's mixed together now, nothing's separate. The shallots, salt and pepper, and the mustard. That's all is one.
So you slowly get.
So you slowly, anybody ever make a hollandaise? Yeah, you have to incorporate the butter slowly. That's a major emulsification right there. A+, for another calendar. And by slowly, just a stream at a time. And you want to mix like on the side of the bowl, bringing everything back in. Go around the bowl once or twice.
If you want it to have a creamy consistency at the end.
You can stop. Sorry about
What
that.
about the people on the first row? Case and dressing.
I wish I had a camera,
Oh, we've got it.
like television, but you can see this is all together.
We said you come up. Come to the front.
And this is something you can do really fast at home. Very fast at home.
Did you ever use a blender for that?
You absolutely. But in the same way I had just done it. You need to pulse your heavier ingredients, your vinegar, your lemon juice, your lime juice, pulse again, and then your oil. Even though you have a very quick spinner now, not just the elbow, still incorporate the oil or the butter or whatever you might be making slowly. Or emulsify. I wrote a pound of quinoa. The mangoes I peeled before anything else, so it can sit and some of the juices would be released, because that's part of your plate. All your mangoes.
The quinoa is raw?
The quinoa has been cooked. Our craisins.
Did you use regular raisins?
Excuse me?
Yes.
Did you use regular raisins?
Oh, you can change any of these ingredients you want, but our base is quinoa. And a salad like this, and I heard it mention people eating raw spinach and stuff. This salad goes awesome over some raw spinach. We add our quinoa. And this salad just came about, being creative. As a matter of fact, this salad came about because Helene told me one day, I need a salad for the health fair. When? Right now. So this is what I had in the house, and this is what I made. Now I added asparagus to this one. You can use broccoli. You can use any vegetable you want. You don't have to use any vegetables. But that's not why we're here. I mix all my ingredients before I incorporate the dressing. Why? So I don't get clumps. Once it's wet from the dressing. And then you bite into a big old clump of craisins or mangoes. Or the shallots. The dressing and all these ingredients together. There's always a little extra dressing, greens or whatever bed you want to serve this over. We mix again.
Could you tell people how to chiffonade basil?
Chiffonade?
Chiffonade.
Okay. I wish I would have brought some whole basil leaves, but everybody knows what a fresh basil leaf looks like?
Yes.
I can do it for you. You pick your basil off the stem, leaf by leaf by leaf. By leaf. This is paper because I didn't bring any whole basil. Now I'm just folding this. I'm folding it like a cigarette, or whatever you want to call it.
You're rolling it and then you go.
I'm not gonna know. It's all rolled. Keep it tight, and you cut it as fine as you can, using your finger to guide. And then when you open it, and then when you go like this, you have all this fluffy chiffonade.
Otherwise it gets bruised and it's hard to cut it nicely.
But greens like that.
Yeah.
You know, and the best thing when you're using fresh herbs and stuff like that, like I just did, I should have used my table with gloves on, because the oils and whatever else and everything that's in your fingertips will start to turn your fresh herbs browner than they need to turn brown. It'll just start the process faster. Is there anything wrong with it? No. But you don't want to look at it. Behind you. Of course, you need to taste your loving creation. And we need a little. This is kosher salt.
We in the kitchen never use fine salt. We only use kosher salt, sea salt, because we have to be able to feel it as a chef. You put the salt in the hand, you feel the texture of it, you throw it in there, you taste it. The fine powdery, never.
I taste the iodine.
Yeah.
I have a question about how you cook the quinoa.
I simmered it.
You can simmer it in water, broth, you can do it in chicken broth, vegetable broth, if you're a vegetarian, anything like that.
Beef broth, I simmered it in salted water.
Yeah. It takes on the flavor of anything, it really is flavorless. You have to go with it. Yeah.
If you ever cooked tabbouleh or anything, same process.
You wash the quinoa?
Yes. You can, when you buy it in a grocery store, I've seen that it's pre-washed. They have red quinoa, black quinoa, mixed quinoa, brown quinoa. They have all kinds of quinoa. And that's it. We're still getting questions though.
Questions? The roasted asparagus.
You can do it on an open grill, your barbecue. I prefer it over steaming all the time just for the flavor of it. And it's quick. I find it's like half the time of steaming it or boiling it. Or you can do it in your oven, a hot oven.
Do you coat it with any oil?
I give it a drop of oil, salt and pepper, and then I call it blistered asparagus.
Well, chef, I'm just putting a little bit of my 2 cents.
Of course.
Okay now, so take a sheet pan. You put your asparagus on the sheet pan. Lay them out nicely. Use a little oil, there's a little oil on it, a little spray, whatever you want to do. Your salt and pepper, a little bit of garlic. Put it under your broiler, get a little color. And then if it's not tender enough, then you can lower it. And then lower the heat and get it to be a little bit more tender. But it comes out, do all my vegetables like that. Carrots, coarse carrots that are large, cut on the bias. Do it like that, you have carrot chips, things like that. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I have started using my waffle iron. You put a little olive oil on your asparagus or your whatever eggplants.
Yeah.
Put it in the waffle iron. 4 minutes.
Good idea. What other questions? Yeah.
With the lemon juice, obviously fresh lemon.
Fresh lemon is preferred.
How many lemons would you need for a half a cup of lemon juice? How many lemons would that really be? A good amount? I would imagine at least 6.
8, depends on the size.
Okay, thank you.
And to do it with fork?
Yes.
So you get every bit out, you can cut it in half. And you're squeezing?
Yes.
Put your dinner fork in there. Twist the dinner fork and squeeze.
First, roll them on the table.
Yes.
Loosen them up a little bit.
This is a lot of servings, so. Yeah, this is a lot of servings, so they might not need that.
Right, yeah, this is a lot, this serves 100, I think the chef made it for, right, chef?
This serves about 25, 20. It depends on how much.
What the recipe would it be?
What? Go ahead.
if we went down the list of ingredients, for instance, it says one and then the dollar sign,
That's a pound.
sign, the quinoa, what does that mean? Is
That's
that
a pound.
That's a pound sign.
That's a pound. That's how chefs write.
Is that cooked or uncooked?
That's cooked. That's uncooked. It comes in a 1 pound box. I'm sorry, I should have made that clearer for you. It comes in a 1 pound box, which I did have on my hand notes. Jicama was 3 each. Mango was a whole mango.
So this serves 25 people, like if you were making for a party.
Yeah.
Right.
How long will this stay? If you were to make this amount, and how long would that then stay if you were to refrigerate?
4 days. 4 days tops.
It's so good.
The amount here all depends on how you're eating this. Are you eating this as a side? Are you eating this as a main dish? If you're going to eat this as a main dish, this serves 12, 10 maybe, and a nice bowl. I mean, you probably can't see, but this is all that's in this bowl. It's not even 3/4 full. That's what this might seem like a lot of ingredients, but you're going to cook the quinoa, and then by the time you